Today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Shooting death of an 11-year-old boy who was playing Ding Dong Ditch.
This is a prank where you ring a doorbell and then run away, and this time it turned tragic. Fox 26's Jade Fleury is at the courthouse where we believe the man charged will face a judge, I believe, here actually in the next 30 minutes.
Leon Gonzalo is charged with murder and is expected in court here this morning. And Gonzalo has the same name and address as the property where that 11-year-old boy was shot and killed after ding-dong ditching over the weekend. The shooting happened over Labor Day weekend at a house on Minboro in East Houston. Police say that kids were ringing doorbells and running away when a homeowner came out and shot at the kids, hitting the 11-year-old boy in the back. He died Sunday at the hospital. The shooter was questioned and released, but now we know that a man has been arrested for murder. One defense attorney gave us some insight on Texas's defense laws to see if the shooting was justified.
If you look at the bottom part of the self-defense law in the code, it says that you can use deadly force if something is stolen from you and you have a reasonable belief that you're not going to be able to get it back. But simply ringing the doorbell and running away, if the person's fleeing the scene, hasn't taken anything, hasn't broken into the house, no forcible entry, there's no threat, I just don't see self-defense.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, what we just watched and witnessed was a very cold-blooded killing of a 10-year-old child here in Houston, Texas. It is tragic that the loss of life of such a young child has taken place because children were playing the ding-dong ditch game. It is a game that also I played as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old when I was a child, and I'm 54 years of age. Many people don't like children playing that game because it does irritate your neighbors and things like that. But it's a game, and you notify parents, and parents discipline the children when they find out about it. But I don't see anything here that justified this man opening the door, coming out of the door, and shooting a 10-year-old child in the back and killing them for playing the ding-dong ditch game. In fact, what took police so long? Wait till the next day and a half to arrest this man. To me, there was enough evidence on the scene right there to where you tell the DA's office what's going on and the arrest is made on the spot. I don't understand why police took so long to make this arrest, Charles.
From a defense attorney's perspective, I mean, there are some things that I'm not 100% clear on. I've seen some conflicting, reporting and social media statements. Some people are saying he opened the door and chased the children down, shooting at them as they fled and killed the 11-year-old boy. There are other people that have suggested that he shot through the door. And, if they were in fact kicking on the door, doing something to make him think they were trying to break in, then I think I don't think it's a winning argument, but I think a defense attorney could make an argument that he was defending his home from what he mistook to believe was a home invasion. If he just ran out after him and started shooting at him, I don't see that Texas law provides him any avenue for defense. We heard an attorney on the news clip from Fox 26 talk about self-defense. It's actually more of a lawful use of force to defend one's property. In Texas, we have a more robust right to use deadly force, and you're obviously not defending yourself, you're defending your property. If you think someone has stolen something, especially in the evening hours after the sunset, you have a right, if you can reasonably articulate that you thought it was necessary to use that force to protect the property. I don't think, even if he'd had prior thefts in the past, I don't think he would. I do think, you criticize the Harris County District Attorney's Office for taking 10, 12 hours, maybe a day to figure out exactly what they wanted to charge this man with. I don't think that there was any evidence that this was a man out there looking to engage strangers. Obviously, this was, a prank gone awry, and he did something horrible, evil. He's appropriately charged with murder. I think that in America generally, we should give the government the opportunity to do the right thing. Now, in this situation, much like the horrifying shooting at the Catholic school last week from the trans shooter. Now, if you'll recall in that, Rosie O'Donnell immediately came out and said, MAGA, 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 and then actually was forced to apologize. And then the mainstream media immediately fixated upon we've got to get rid of guns, knowing that the Second Amendment precludes that, but that just constant narrative because they did not have the evil white man narrative, because this was a trans shooter that had written things antagonistic to Donald Trump.
Well, he was a white
Here,
man.
hold on, just let me finish. Here, what we have is we haven't seen any activists outcries. You haven't been out there marching. And
Because
why?
a white man killed
Why?
some other people?
Well, in
In a
this
mass shooting?
situation, no, I'm talking about this shooting, the Ding Dong Ditch
This
shooting.
shooting, he's white. No, the shooting, the guy's white in the trans
Maybe-
shooting.
Yeah, maybe you should read the news articles. It's a Latino man that killed a Latino child. And when you have
And
racial
no, not
homogeneity,
in the Houston
when you
case,
have
not in the
racial
Houston case,
homogeneity,
church shooting.
activists like you just don't give a damn, right? And if we always gave the state a chance,
What are we going to
and said, "Hey,
protest? He's in
state,"
jail.
if we
He's
always
charged
said,
with
hey,
murder. He's in
state,
jail.
let's see if you're going to do the right thing before we start tearing down cities. Because make no mistake, had this been a white male shooter and a black child, it would have still been murder. It has still been evil. But what we'd have had was you and others leading more evil into, rioting and looting and nonsense, right?
That's an absolute lie, and that's an fabrication of the facts. This gentleman, when the police came to the scene,
the past should
there
not
was
edify
nothing-
the
there was
perception.
nothing
And what's
that took
wrong with
place,
America
Charles.
when it seems
There's
like the
nothing that took
media
place in this
cares
Houston
less when it's
that
kids of
justified
color
killing that kid.
killed by other people of color, and not something that can push this narrative. This is a
But
sad,
Charles,
horrible
this is a man of
crime.
color, and this is a 10-year-old child of color.
Well, you just said he was white a minute ago, so
No,
you're going to
I
believe
said
me?
the shooter at the Catholic
No,
church
you
was
didn't.
white. Yes, I did.
The viewers can watch.
The trans shooter that you
Oh,
said,
yeah, most certainly.
not
And
a
he killed
white man, that was a
children.
white man trans shooter.
Killing white children.
So, and we always see white males in these mass shootings when they shoot and kill soft targets.
Actually, that's a lie promulgated
And
by,
actually, that's
you
a lie. You
and
wanna push
others that
everybody
share
knows. They can
your
see what time it
career
is.
of a violent, nihilistic activism, right? That I mean, much like regular murder, the overwhelming mass shootings and multiple victim shootings, the sadly the majority of them are committed by African American men
And that's
in
an
America,
absolute lie.
year after year. No, it's not.
That's an
What
absolute
you're
lie.
doing is lying. Now, that doesn't condemn black men, because frankly, it's still a very small number of black men in America. And racists want to talk about violent black men and create this false equivalency between all black men, because there's a
That's what you
larger
do. But that's
percentage.
exactly
I
what you
absolutely don't. I always am very clear that I'm only talking about the bad people, white, black,
And
brown,
you love
whatever.
bringing up the
But
bad
to
black
pretend,
people, but you
to
don't bring up
continually
bad
pretend
white people at all.
that it's whitey, when the truth is that if America was all white and Asian, right, and we use the same numbers, we'd have less shootings than Norway, than Denmark, than most Scandinavian countries that are seen as the safest countries in the
Let
world,
me ask you a
right?
question then.
And that's
Based on what
just
you
a
just said.
sad truth,
So based
right?
on
But
what you just
really,
said,
what I wonder is why activists like you don't
name-
care when there's racial
I can name
homogeneity.
several
Don't
black and
care when you
brown
can't
countries.
blame whitey. Why
Charles,
you
I
just
can
don't
name
care at
several
all?
Black and brown
No
countries
money.
who
There's
have
no
a
money for you
lower
to make.
murder rate, who has
I'm
a
sorry,
lower
I
murder
figured it
rate
out
in America.
right here
I can name several
on
black
live
and brown
TV.
countries
I
who have
figured
a
out why
lower
you don't
crime
care,
rate
Quanell,
in America.
because there ain't
So
no
we
way for
can't
you to
say
make
that
money.
crime is a black face in America, because we can name several black countries and brown countries around the hemisphere that have a lower crime and lower murder rate than America does. It's not
Right.
murder is not based on color. Murder is based on poverty.
Well, no, that's actually not true. All the evidence suggests that poverty is just a scapegoat, right? We need to do more to combat poverty, and we need to do more to help Black Americans get out of poverty, because far too many are in poverty. But
I
it
agree with
turns
you.
out
Pay
that
us
that lie is
reparations.
just a
Pay us
scapegoat. And in
reparations.
fact, the
Pay
problem is,
reparations.
I know, everything is
Pay
solved
reparations.
by giving Quadell more money.
No,
right?
you're not giving. You paying black people and their descendants what you owe.
Yeah, I would be me giving.
Your
because
ancestors put you in a position.
None of my ancestors ever owned slaves.
And
none of my ancestors ever owned slaves. They didn't have money. They were poor. Right?
What,
this is just you doing more lying.
To black people. You pay reparations to white slave masters in America and their firstborn sons. You can do it to black people.
Okay, so what we should do is historically charge people today for every wrong that was committed. So
that's
now,
what you did already.
What is it?
You did that already.
What is it like?
You did it with the Asians and Japanese in internment camps.
No, that's just more like.
You did it.
Let's look at robberies in America. Let's look at violent robberies, right?
So they should pay reparations.
Should Black America as a whole have to pay back the victims of violent robberies, right? Should for the life-destroying consequences, because overwhelmingly violent robberies are committed by black male criminals. So should black males as a whole be punished for that? Do they have an? Of course not. Absolutely, course not. Right? And then let's talk about slavery. We want globalism. Let's talk about slavery as a planetary issue, right?
And crime flourishes in areas with high unemployment rates. That's where you're going to see the bulk of high crime, high unemployment rates, high areas, and also where you have poverty.
So what is the safest state in America?
You tell me, Charles. You're gonna say Maine?
No. What's the safest state in America?
I don't know, Charles. You tell me.
It's Maine. You know what else Maine is? Whitest state in America. Okay.
Charles.
So you can pretend that there is not
economic state of Maine.
All of Black America owes a debt to the rest of America because of its outsized problem with crime, right? Because the truth is, most of the victims of that crime are innocent, law-abiding Black Americans, right?
So that criminal environment was produced on Black people against Black people, and Black people recidivised that crime among themselves.
Reparations nonsense narrative, right? Something that happened to people, what is it? Almost 200 years ago now, or more than 200 years ago.
You got totally away from the Houston shooting.
500,000 white men in a country that didn't have that many people in it.
To make a race point, where there was no race point involved,
right? But of course, do they need reparations too? Should white people that fought for the Union get reparations?
The Houston shooting and the killing of a 10-year-old to make a race point, which race has nothing to do with this shooting at all.
I'm just curious why you're not marching about it.
Race because that's what you do.
I know
race has nothing to do with this killing.
But my question is, why is Quadell not marching for this poor child?
Because he's charged with murder. The man has been charged with murder. He's been charged with murder.
Make money off it, Quadell.
He's been charged with murder.
That's it.
He's been charged with murder.
You started by saying, why wasn't he charged right away? And I said,
he should have been charged sooner. He should have been charged.
From the bottom of my heart, if you leave this damn field, son, within 3 years, I'm going to have to come see you. Either in the grave or because that's where you're headed. Because you don't want no this. I'm telling you now, son, if you walk out from this field in 3 years, I'm going to see you somewhere else. And I don't want to do it. I told you that before. And I'm telling you again, it's your choice. Or you can stick out and be a man about what you do, or you can be a coward and put the on me. And I understand you ain't never been a part of a team. I'm rooting for you. Look at me, man. I'm rooting for you. I pray for you every night. Out of all these I pray for you. Because I don't want to see you out there, boy. You got so much in you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If you ain't never thought a man love you, I love you. And I ain't just talking about for this football team.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
So that was a high school football coach having a conversation with one of his athletes who apparently was considering quitting the team. He was out on the field and not dressed out, not in practice clothes. And he had some pretty strident words for that young teenage man about what would happen to his life if he quit the team. Right. And now, once again, we have racial homogeneity. We have a black coach talking to a black team. And I think that personally, if it was a white coach, talking to a black player, this would be perceived completely differently, which I think is wrong, right? Because clearly there was some concern in his voice. But even here, I don't think it's a fair assessment, right? I don't think it's fair to tell a young black teenager that if he doesn't play football, that he's going to end up in jail or in a cemetery. I do think that sports provide incredible structure for students of all races, and that students that play sports, high school students that play sports, or involved in other demanding, grueling, structured extracurricular activities, because some people, especially in these bigger high schools, don't have the optionality to play sports. It's a difficult thing to do, right? In these absurdist 2,000, 3,000 sized student population high schools, which I don't think it should exist. I don't think high schools should have more than 300 or 400 kids in them, and we should have small high schools where everyone that wants to participate in things can. But I do think the structure is important. I do think it keeps a lot of kids out of a variety of trouble. And but I also believe that if this, like I said, I used to teach a class I used to go to kids and teach them how to deal with law enforcement, right, during a traffic stop. And my only concern with that was telling kids what to do to, one, protect their constitutional rights politely, and to emerge safely from that traffic stop without any loss of their life, right? But I had some African-American women, mainly, suggest that I was racist because I could talk to kids of all races, right? But because I was telling black teenagers, hey, don't object, do what they say, be polite, do not give them any permissions, but always be very careful in how you move and what you say and this and that, because I just wanted them to emerge from the encounter safely, right? And I do think that in this situation, I'm curious if you think the same. If we had a white football coach telling a black kid, either you're going to play football or you'll be dead or in prison, I think it would be perceived completely differently.
Charles, I am never shocked nor amazed how you could turn such a beautiful humanitarian moment and sacrifice of a coach trying to save
I'm curious what you would think if it was a white coach saying it.
Athlete into a race issue. This case and this story
that's the show. I don't know if you noticed.
Do about race. This coach, I don't know your name, dear brother, but you are a hero to our community. For you spoke the raw, unadulterated truth to that young man. People who don't understand the strident language or the very harsh language or tone that you use or words you chose to use, they don't understand the nature of the environment that you're trying to coach that young man in. And they don't understand what's happening in that young man's community, what's surrounding him. And I'm sure they don't know the whole backstory surrounding that particular young man. But I've seen so many young athletes like that young man, tremendous, talented young men. But for some reason, they don't like structure. They don't like being held accountable. They don't like discipline. So they leave the team. And in less than a year, you hear about them being gunned down in some drive-by, being involved in some robbery, some auto theft, some criminal act, or being at some party and a bunch of kids showed up and somebody got shot and killed at a house party. Or you hear about them going to jail. This is nothing new. This brother said to that young man, if nobody believe in you, I believe in you. If no man has ever told you he loves you, man, I love you. I'm rooting for you. I pray for you every night. Those are the kind of men that America needs back in athletics. And if we had a white man talking like that to a young black man, saying to him, don't quit this team, don't give up on this team, because I'll have to see you in 1 year in jail or dead somewhere. I love you, young man. I'm rooting for you, young man. If nobody believes in you, I believe you. If we had a white man talking like that to a black athlete, he would be celebrated by black people. Because
I don't think so, Quanell. I think we would be calling him a racist. And I think it's pretty awful to assume that a black teen would be in jail or dead if he didn't play sports. I mean, the truth is, you'd be calling the guy a racist. I mean, that's just the sad truth.
No, I would not. I coach football. I coach youth football. And as a former coach of youth football,
I know of at least 9 young men that I coached or coached against that died or went to jail before they went to the 9th grade. We've had those similar conversations when I was coaching my son with teammates and other athletes to stay off the streets and stay out of trouble.
You'll agree.
And we were looking to see what they are.
We've seen basketball and football players about to go into their collegiate careers. Recently, we've had a rash of it in the last 3 years, where kids played football or basketball all through high school, got to college and got murdered, or in the basketball sense, committed murder.
Two Utah players out of Dallas.
So all kind of a horrible stuff, right? So it seems like the sports, aren't, I think they do. And I agree holistically. I think kids of all races benefit from regimented, structured extracurricular activities. I don't care if it's chess or football or anything, right? But if you're saying that the white coach would be celebrated for telling the black kid, hey, you're going to go, I don't believe it, but okay. But if you're saying that, what the hell is going on in Black America where that's the options, right? And what is it? Jail or the cemetery or football? That shouldn't be the binary. That's terrifying.
But based on that conversation,
there's a problem, right?
But if you listen to that conversation with that young man, that coach knows a little bit more than we know right now about that particular young man and his home life and his environment. And one of the major questions I would ask is, where's that young man's father? Is that young man's father actively involved in his life? I would raise that question. And that's what he needed, Charles. You'd be shocked how many college football players go to college and when they get on scholarship, Charles. And when they get there, because they're not used to dealing with men correcting them, holding them accountable, holding them to discipline standards that are universal across the board, they quit and go home.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.